Humor has existed since man first witnessed the chicken cross the road, and though you and I probably think we understand it, philosophers have struggled to define it. For centuries, great minds like Plato, Kant, Freud, Roger Scruton, and the like have had little to say about it, and what they have has been altogether critical. But why should we let the thinkers of the past tell us what's funny? The theories they devised in an attempt to define humor, known as superiority theory, relief theory, and the more contemporary incongruity theory, have been narrow-minded, fall short of explanation, and fail to mention the important role humor and laughter play in our society. First, let's take a look at superiority theory. This theory, which dominated Western thinking for about 2 millennia, describes laughter as a form of attentive demolition. Simply put, it states that we laugh to express feelings of superiority over others or a former state of self. This, in fact, is a realistic use of humor. Just think of a time someone poked fun at you for being different. This theory is based on the fact of human nature that we belittle others in order to raise our own self-esteem. For this reason, even Plato in Philebus 48-50 condemns laughter, analyzing the enjoyment of comedy as a form of scorn. However, to think of all humor in this context is to label it a vice. But humor is not limited to the belittlement of others and this narrow point of view. Scottish philosopher Fallacious Hutcheson, a critic of superiority theory, argues that feelings of superiority are neither necessary nor sufficient for laughter. He gives this explanation. Some ingenuity in dogs and monkeys, which comes near to our own arts, very often makes us merry, whereas their duller actions, in which they are much below us, are no matter of jest at all. This is to say that our first instinct is not to laugh at those who might be more misfortunate than ourselves. On the contrary, we are more prone to empathy. For example, when passing a beggar on the street, we are far more likely to express pity or even show awkward dismissal, and by no means laugh. Furthermore, to lower humor to such a second-rate emotion would be to reduce our own intelligence. To laugh as a means to establish superiority is generally frowned upon, and those jokes are typically called crude and simple-minded. Humor, on the other hand, should be seen as a tool of the intellectual. Clever jokes take great consideration and thought, and anyone can point a finger and laugh, but wit is a sign of mental sharpness, inventiveness, and keen intelligence. Clarence Thoreau, a famous American lawyer, once suggested that if you lose the power to laugh, you lose the power to think. And so we should not let humor fall to the ignorant and evil, but see it as a tool of the intelligent. So then, moving on to the next theory, emerging sometime in the 18th century as an alternative to superiority theory, was a theory known as relief theory. This theory, so that's too many theories, proposed that humor was an intellectual, instinctual response to stress, acting like a pressure valve to relieve tension. Think about a time you chuckled nervously in an awkward situation. This, according to relief theory, is the origin of humor, a coping mechanism. An extreme example of this was observed during Stanley Milgram's famous obedience experiment. In this study, test subjects, known as labeled as students if you're looking at the diagram following on with the PowerPoint, were asked to deliver a series of electrical shocks to a learner, not visible to the subject, in order to see how much voltage they would deliver before refusing to continue. Results showed that an alarming 65% delivered shocks of 450 volts, which was the experimental cap, convinced that they were electrocuting a real person. The people being shocked were, of course, just actors, and they weren't actually being electrocuted. So, in his publications, Milgram mentioned several instances during the experiment when subjects began to laugh nervously once they heard the screams of those pretending to be electrocuted. An observation Milgram notes deserved further study, and again, though extreme, this experiment gives evidence that laughter may result from stress as a means by which to cope. While this is not necessarily something that can be denied, like superiority theory, it takes a very narrow and negative view of laughter. Sure, we may laugh to relieve stress, but rather than looking at laughter as a way to distract ourselves from anxiety or pain, we could also look at it as a means of perseverance. Humor should not be seen only as a means to ignore our problems, but also a means by which to endure them. Neuroscientist V.S. Ramachandran, in his book A Brief Tour of Human Consciousness, states that perhaps the rhythmic staccato sound of laughter evolved to inform our kin who share our genes, not to waste our precious resources on on a certain situation. It's false alarm. Tim Radford, reviewing Ramachandran's book in an article for The Guardian, suggests that nervous laughter may be instinctual, but offers a different perspective, suggesting that we may laugh to give each other hope, to show that whatever horrible thing that we have encountered is by all means survivable. And finally, I would like to discuss the most contemporary of theories of humor, known as incongruity theory. This theory attempts to explain humor by listing a wide range of situations that are considered funny, as well as explain what is humorous in these situations. This commonly includes absurdities or contradictions between a person's perception of a subject or action and reality. Similarly, John Morial, a doctor of philosophy, describes incongruity as something that happens when some thing or event we perceive or think about that violates our normal mental patterns and normal expectations. Like watching a painter accidentally drink a cup of paint water that was sitting right next to his cup of tea. When compared to previous theories, incongruity theory has been subjected to less criticism due to its exploratory versatility and neutral connotations. Rather than attempting to bend humor to a narrow definition, the incongruity theory does its best to fit the joke. However, this theory, like the others, provides no overlap. It ignores the facts that proposed by other theories that are in fact valid. Each of these theories is true to some extent, but they fail to explore humor beyond one point of view. Most importantly, however, they fall short of exploring the importance of humor and its role in our various communities as something more than simply a means of assertion, trivial response to stress, or reaction to absurdity. So why is it necessary to laugh at all? Well, let's take a look at laughter's counterpart, seriousness. Seriousness is a force that results in narrow views, rigid ideologies, and tunnel vision. When we are serious, we are a lot more prone to stand our ground and silence others. But laughter is a result of listening to others and a means by which we open ourselves up to new understanding. Just look at stand-up comedy. It revolves around the discussion of controversial topics in a humorous way. Comedians discuss sensitive topics like sex, relationships, politics, race, culture, and audience's response is laughter, not hostility. Laughter can play a crucial role as a medium to bring people of different backgrounds and ideologies together. Anthony McCartan, a New Zealand novelist and journalist, describes comedy on TEDx in Munich as the clash of one point of view with another, one sensibility with another. High with low, east with west, light with dark, and old with young, a collision of two world views, of two civilizations. And like two pieces of flint being struck together, a life-saving spark is given off, with which you can light a fire. Humor brings us closer to those around us and strengthens our sense of belonging with those with whom we laugh. It reinforces our experiences and our memories. It is a means by which we are welcomed into a group and a means by which we invite others. When we laugh, we act as peacemakers and distributors of hope. And so let's not take these theories born in seriousness fully to heart. Anthony McCartan states that just as we cannot have mathematical proof that isn't built off of pure mathematics, we cannot have a theory of humor that isn't funny. And so, let us define laughter on our own terms as we see fit. And when discussing humor, let's not limit ourselves to narrow-minded perspectives, but consider the truth of each and every theory and laughter in all of its contexts, while allowing it to bring us closer together. Thank you.